Alright, we're going to talk about inverse functions here, and I will point out that a few of these items you can use a graphing calculator to help you understand. And I don't really like the phrase opposites because opposites usually imply like positives and negatives. So with inverses, I would rather talk about undoing. So it's the process of undoing the phrase. So opposites would be like addition. The opposite of addition would be subtraction, and that makes sense to say opposite then, because one's positive and one's negative. But multiplicative inverses is the reciprocal, and if you're unfamiliar with reciprocal, that would be like multiplication, division, and the reason why I can say reciprocal instead of division is because the reciprocal of 2 is 1/2. Well, what's the opposite of multiplying by 2? It's dividing by 2. So that's why we have these words. They're very important, and it's undoing, it's reversing themselves, things like that. So here's an example where they're asking you to consider f of 5 and g of 11. So just a reminder, how to do f of 5, in case you forgot, is you're replacing the x in that problem with 5. So just do the order of operations. You get 15 plus 7, which would be 22, and when you divide by 2, you get 11. And then while I'm at it, I also need to do g of 11 in this problem. So you're replacing the x in the g function with 11. And you should notice that some of these numbers look the same, addition and, but they're moved around. 2 times 11 is 22. Minus 7 will give you 15, and 15 divided by 3 gives you 5. And the whole premise here is that you're seeing that, oh, well, 11 was this number, and then 5 was this number, and, is there a connection here? And let's see if that connection continues to happen on the next one. So if you do f of 0, I like doing that because anything times 0 is 0. And then when you add 7 to it, you get 7/2. And let me point out that same thing. So what do you think is going to happen when we do g of 7/2? Do you think that's still going to happen? Well, let's try. So we're going to plug in 7/2 into the g function. And I like that because if you double 7/2, the 2's will cancel. Oh, look at that. And then you're left with 7 minus 7, which is 0. And 0 divided by anything is still 0. Okay, so maybe you're making a conjecture, and maybe your conjecture is that if these really are inverses and they really undo each other, like the 7s, they're undone. Instead of multiplying by 3 and dividing by 2, we're multiplying by 2 and dividing by 3. So double check that f of -3 will equal -1, and then g of -1 will equal -3. And again, you can use a calculator if you're trying to do some shortcuts. And then this next one, I really want you to work this one out. So let's do f of g of 5. Now remember, you do g of 5 first. So 2 times 5 minus 7 divided by 3. Okay, 2 times 5 is 10, minus 7 is 3. And 3 divided by 3 would equal 1. Well, now what we have to do is go to the f. So now we have to plug in 1 for the f function. So 3 times 1 is 3 plus 7 is 10. And 10 divided by 2 gives me 5. Okay, well that's kind of interesting because we ended with the thing that we started with. So if you think that's going to happen for all things, you can try a different number. And after you do a few, you'll notice that that is true. So without calculation, could you determine the value of f of g of pi? Because g of pi will give you something, and because they undo each other, they are inverses, then when you do f of that something, you'll just get back to pi. And that's the whole premise of being an inverse. They literally undo each other. So what happens is you'll look at a problem, you'll plug in a for the function f, and you'll get some letter B. That will be the range of f. But then, when you do g of b, you'll go backwards and get a. And that cycle just repeats over and over again. So if we were to graph the ordered pair -3, 5, and it lies on the graph of y equals f of x, then what must be a point that's on the inverse? So my quick answer to you would be that with inverses, the x and y values, all they happen are they switch. You don't change the signs, you don't do anything. So then, let me just put it this way, -3, 5 will become 5, -3. You switch the order. That's it. So that corresponds to option 3. And then we can also talk about what's happening with a graph or a straight line. And this might be new notation for you, is if we're ever talking about an inverse of something, we have this inverse notation, and it looks like it says to the -1 power. So that's what they mean by inverses and how they're written. So if we look at this problem, and there's definitely a typo happening on this page, because this graph does not match up with this line. I think I need to fix this, because the y-intercept should be -2, and then up to right 3, up to right 3. I might just need to reprint this for anybody that needs to check out the problem. So hopefully that does not confuse anybody. That black line is incorrect. Yeah, so as we're looking at this problem, and it's my fault, I should have double-checked that matched up perfectly. The whole premise of this is the x-coordinate of the inverse. X-coordinate. Well, what that means is that if we're switching x and y, then that's the y-coordinate of this function. So what you could do is rewrite that with y equals, because that might make more sense to you. Instead, you replace the y with 2, because if it's the x-coordinate of the inverse, it needs to be the y-coordinate of that function. So what you can do is add 2 to the left side. 2 plus 2 is 4, and then to get rid of the 2/3, you can multiply by the reciprocal. So when you do that, 4 times 3 would be 12, divided by 2 is 6. So the inverse of 2 would be equal to 6. So what does that actually mean? If you look at the correct line, now that I have it correct, is that when, so this is the y-coordinate of the original function, and so if you look at the x-coordinate, so the x is 6, y is 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right there. That's the point it's corresponding to. So you could do the same work on this other one, but remember, this is the y-coordinate of the graph that was given to you. So if you look at y equals -4, it looks like the x-coordinate is -3. So I'll just squeeze it right there. And hopefully that makes sense. Another thing you could do, once you have the correct graph and you plot all the points correctly, remember you could switch x and y around for all of these ordered pairs, and you could see what the graph of the inverse looks like. So I believe that's -6, -6. Yeah. So remember, the inverse, switch x and y around, so we'd have 2, 6 as a point, or 0, 3, -2, 0, -4, -3, and if you switch -6, -6, you're actually just going to go back to the original. So that is what, that's actually doing letter C right there to help you get that answer. And then also we can answer the y-intercept for the inverse, because as you remember, you switch x and y, so it's basically asking you for the x-intercept of f of x. Well, if the x-intercept on this problem is 3, 0, and you switch the order around, then the y-intercept of the inverse, I like to write y equals, will be y equals 3. There you go. And again, I'm sorry about that typo. If that line on there was confusing you, I should go back and delete it off. And then we can also talk about a quadratic and talking about what the inverse would look like. So in this problem, just remember, if you're talking about the inverse, you switch x and y around. So this becomes 4, negative 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 2. 1, negative 1. Well, switching 0 and 0 around will still give you 0, 0. Switching 1, 1 around still gives you 1, 1. But then switching 4, 2 around. And what you should notice by the graph of this inverse, I want to underline that word real quick, is this is not a function. Why? It fails the vertical line test. Which brings me to my next point, is the existence of a one-to-one function. Well, the existence of an inverse is it needs to be a one-to-one function. So what that means is it also has to pass the horizontal line test. And it goes back to the fact that x's and y's cannot repeat. So in order to be a function, it must pass the vertical line test. And in order to have an inverse, and let's just think about it, if you switch x and y around, then there also must be a test to see if the y's repeat. Because if you switch x and y and then the y's repeat, they become x's, well then the x's are going to repeat. So in order to have an inverse function exist, it must pass both tests. And I will point out that I made this homework assignment a little bit longer. So if you have been getting away with not doing very much work at home, you might not be able to do that this time. There's an extra page there all the way to question 13 in this homework assignment. And then we have section 7 coming up.